Hello, I'm Mark Douglas with The Sea Within You, and I'm playing around with something I haven't touched in a few years, which is an exercise I did in one of my foundation courses for my astrological training through the Association for Astrological Psychology in the UK. And essentially, what it is called the expedition, and I've twisted it a little bit, of course. And I like working with this with clients because what I find with doing astrological work is that it's really good, but it's very information heavy. And how do we actually ground that into our real lives? And then from the coaching side, of course, it's all about reaching goals. I love the information astrology provides, and I love the framework of coaching, which has a fidelity of moving towards goals, to improving our lives. And I have a Mars and Leo. I love my idea of the expedition. I grew up, spent many moons, about 10 years in the Canadian ski patrol system. Love being outdoors. So this idea of an expedition and using our team, which in astrological birth chart we know that we have all of our kind of planets and moons and all these strengths and energies that if we get to know better, we can put them to use, understand their needs, know their hang-ups, if you will, and to really respect and honor those needs, and to also know that there's strengths, there's light in anything, in everything, and that we can assemble a functional team with what we have if we're willing to go there. So this is called the expedition. I'm just going to give a quick run through about it. This isn't going to be long or in depth, or will you necessarily be able to use this. This is what I'll work with clients. So I just wanted to give a quick idea, and you can certainly take this and put it into your own practice, or use it if you will, but it's not going to be thorough enough to use it as an exercise. My apologies. Shoot me a message though if you want me to send you this presentation as a PDF so you can tweak it and test it, maybe use it for yourself or with your own clients. Okay, so the expedition, I call it consciously, it's hard to read in white there, consciously aligning to a goal through astrological and inner symbols. Within expedition planning, so I'm relating back to here in psychosynthesis, Astrology came up with this acts of will. And it is the framework that I use with coaching. A lot of coaching uses the GROW model, which is awesome. And just because I've trained in psychosynthesis life coaching, I focus on acts of will. And there's 6 core stages: purpose, deliberation, choice, affirmation, program planning, manifestation. So largely at the expedition stage, we've already anchored into purpose and largely deliberation, choice. We've affirmed it. We're perhaps at the program planning stage, but everybody's different. I say we start at the program planning phase just so that we're aware, working with clients, that we've already anchored into purpose and done all that. So we're really at the stage of let's get this expedition going. Here we go. So if this is your first glance at astrology, you might not know anything about astrology. Actually, you might just think that it's something in the newspaper every day that we read our horoscopes, which of course doesn't work. Astrology uses your birth chart, and we have basically these 10 archetypes, or these planetary energies, psychological drives within us, and we have a birth chart. Doing an astrological birth consultation, we will spend time getting to know these energies in your whole chart. But long story short is that they provide the team members for this expedition. And the first one, of course, as you would imagine, would be our will, which is represented largely through the sun. And what I would do then is get to know you and your sun, and you would get to know your sun through the birth chart. We make notes, we understand its needs, and so that when we're on expedition, we're not getting broadsided by factors that we need for our will. And that would be very, very personalized to you in your birth chart. How strong is your sun? What house is it in? What aspects does it make? Etc., etc., etc. But once we get to know that, and we can work with our will, our sun, then we're doing well. We can honor that and go about it rather than try to fight our way up the mountain, if you will. So I have some questions that we would explore. I mean, these are just really placeholders. We would spend time going through it so that you feel confident knowing what your sun's needs are. Very important for an expedition to have our sun understood as much as possible so that we can work with it. The next planet is good old Saturn. So Saturn is a lot of things, but really represents us in the physical world of what our kind of needs are at that levels of boundaries and security and well-being, the practicalities, the hard edges of life. So with a good, strong, well-established Saturn in our chart, we can, be the mother that makes the lunches routinely every day for the kids' lunches, if you will, or that we can show up consistently, reliably as the benefactor, the mentor, the etc. etc. So Saturn in a birth chart can be extremely handy for an expedition. And if it's less well placed, it's okay. We just need to know the needs of Saturn, where it's getting in our way. If it's security issues, lack of regimental kind of processes of our exercise and diet, and everything else. So we just need to understand Saturn and how it rolls out for us. I have a few good questions there. Yeah, it can be. I love working with a good, strong Saturn in a chart because everybody Googles Saturn and they see it as this malefic and it's nasty and it's going to cause us a bit of trouble. But of course, that's completely wrong. Saturn is simply in us for us to develop. And this idea of it being black or white, good or bad, is not psychologically sound language. It can absolutely be a strong backbone, and it can be a wet blanket for us as well too if it's taking over through fear, boundary issues, stuff like that. I won't do every planet, but I just want to quickly show you the three main ones. The ego planets are the Sun, Saturn, and the Moon. So the Sun kind of representing the will, Saturn our sense of self and boundaries, and the Moon our emotional self. Moon is a big one. So it's our inner child, our emotional self, yada, yada, yada. And we can't do an expedition without a good kind of representation, understanding of what the moon's needs are. They can go from everything from being a tucked away, hidden, maybe you're a 12th house moon, and that moon of yours really requires a lot of downtime, ontological time in the woods away from people. Maybe it's, you're a very introverted person. So we need to really respect that because we can't change that, nor can we wish that upon ourselves. But to respect the moon and what that moon is of yours, to get in there and really learn from it and learn those needs. We can't meet the wants of our expedition members, right? That whole saying, I can meet your needs, I can't meet your wants. So what we really do want to do and need to do is get to know the needs of all these planets. Just a few questions for the moon that we would walk through. So there's other team members as well. There's Mercury, which deals with communication and the clarity communication channel. Venus, our sense of harmony, appreciation. Maybe you just have Venus and Taurus and you need to eat 10 pounds of the world's greatest chocolate every day. Well, we need to figure out a way to work with that within the expedition. Mars's needs. So Mars, hugely important for an expedition. It's our action, assertion, our devotion, gives us courage. It's the hero. Uranus, these are three transpersonal planets down here. Uranus is creative intelligences. It's the explorer spirit, freedom, out of the box, instant revolution type of energy. Hugely important. And it can be a real deficit if we're just looking to always change things up, change the route, change everything. And that's disconcerting for every other team member. You have a plan to scale Mount Everest, for example, in the expedition, and you keep changing the plans because you've got these kind of out of whack creative ideas and too much of an explorer spirit. Well, we need to reel that in and get to know the needs of your Uranus so that it can be a sense of support for you. Neptune, you wonder probably, where does Neptune fall into this expedition? Well, Neptune, of course, can be the planet of delusionment and everything else, but focusing on the ideals, the compassion, the inspiration, the unity, Neptune can be a real strength within the team, right? Holding those transpersonal qualities of why we're here, and the idealisms. It's important attribute, because when you're doing any expedition or any large scale goal, we need to be connected for why the heck we're doing it, right? So Neptune is a vital component. Lastly, Pluto. So Pluto, our deepest levels of desire, the transpersonal will, the spiritual will, can also see itself through power, through synthesis, by bridging these planets and these energies. It's a big player in the chart. Everybody talks about Pluto for good reasons, and when it's used effectively, it can bring a lot of synergy towards our goals. And when it's distorted, you get into the kind of megalomania, and it can be very destructive. But Pluto, when harnessed well, gives us literally that tip of the mountain, the transpersonal will to fuse all of our other energies together. Lastly, to kind of square this off, we want to break the left side of the brain, hopefully get into that right side. And we do that because we are imagining. And I love using imagery. Waking dreams is what we call the type of imagery within here, because I'm not trying to guide you necessarily. How the team comes together, what we would do within imagery is relate your whole experience of what we just cataloged, what you just learned, bringing it together, and then let's leave the left side of the brain, enter into the right, where we can form an imaginal, workable team for you based on your consciously knowing the needs within your birth chart. And this sounds heavy, but it's really not. You've already learned about your planets and the needs. You've aligned your goal consciously, and let's fuse it together by trusting the process of using the power within imagery in the fifth dimension. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. And I just kind of walked you through a good understanding of how I like to work with clients. This wouldn't be every session. This might never be any session. But we are merging, flowing, relating to astrology. Hopefully, if you have your proper birth time, using imagery, using acts of will, using core conscious psychosynthesis techniques. We're being practical, we're being expansive, and we are connecting, most importantly, with what matters to you at a very deep level towards your life's purpose. Thank you very much, and have a great day.